Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Tasmania's bushfire emergency is continuing tonight with several communities on high alert. The Huon Valley is bracing for the worst, with towns in the rural area at high risk in the next few hours. Our reporter Michelle Wisby has been following the fires today and joins us now from Port Huon with more. Michelle, good evening. Those conditions look horrendous where you are tonight.
Yeah, Joe, this really thick smoke is just becoming an all too familiar sight to residents just here in the Huon Valley, but also across Tasmania. Now, we're currently here at Port Huon, which is being impacted by the Tahoon fire, edging closer towards the river here and therefore towards communities. We've got Geeston down to my left here and Franklin's up to the right. These two towns, as well as several others, currently under an emergency advice level. Now, the Huon Highway heading north was just jam-packed with people today as they headed towards safer ground, but in the last hour or so that started to lessen out. Now, it comes after we received a text message earlier today as well urging us to evacuate. Authorities telling us there has been unconfirmed reports of some property losses. But there's still some bad news, with worse weather expected to be coming throughout the week. Smoke heading over the hills and fast. Another day of emergency fires threaten properties in the Huon.
The Revo Road fire is in plantations, which is heavy fuel loads, and the fire behaviour in there, while expected, it's a result of that heavy type of fuel.
The fire is burning, as mentioned, in inaccessible areas, and it's coming out into the backs of properties and townships. We're putting in place plans and methods to ensure we protect as many properties as possible.
Areas of Judbury and between north of Geeston and south of Franklin ordered to evacuate around 2 this afternoon as thick smoke blanketed towns south of Huonville.
Burning embers will be falling in those warning areas. Heavy smoke and ash will make it difficult to see and difficult to breathe.
The highway blocked at the Huonville Bridge earlier today, causing traffic chaos as residents swarmed to safer ground. Around 400 people choosing to leave.
Certainly communities and individuals and families need to plan for a potential isolation if that highway or bridge is blocked for whatever reason.
Whenever you've got fire of this nature in any landscape, and particularly when it gets into that urban interface environment, the risk to life and property remains high.
Plans already in place in case the fire crosses the Huon River.
We urge Tasmanians not to become complacent. So people in communities with bushfires at the emergency warning status are urged to leave now, where we were expecting some relief from rain on Thursday. We're less optimistic about that now. So we'd ask people to remain vigilant.
And there doesn't seem to be much relief in sight. Wednesday especially a worry for crews. Fires in the Central Highlands also lifted to an emergency alert level this afternoon, already burning through around 40,000 hectares. Authorities considering a total fire ban later in the week. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, a total fire ban across the state has now been lifted, but authorities are warning campfire restrictions are still in place. Parks and Wildlife staff say they've found campfires smouldering in recent days. Under the restrictions, campfires and stoves that burn coal, wood or plant material are not permitted. The warning comes as some national parks reopen following last week's bushfire threat. Plans for the $260 million University of Tasmania relocation to Inverest have still not been lodged, despite hopes they would be by the end of 2018. UTAS has been tight-lipped about when it will make a development application for the massive move, with speculation it could still be 6 months away.
Moving a campus across town was never going to be easy, but in 2017 the University of Tasmania was upbeat.
That depends on the planning process. The milestone we've been given is the end of next year. I'd like to go much faster than that. We'd like to start construction just as soon as the Launceston public is convinced that we're building the right campus for their city and the council gives us the approval to go ahead.
Fast forward a year and a half later and the city of Launceston still doesn't have anything to approve. UTAS has not yet lodged a development application. Today, 7 Tasmania News sent several questions to the university about these potential delays. The reply, just a link to this website.
Always concerned when there are delays. We want to see the project up and running, there's no doubt about that, but we want to make sure that when it is up and running that it's right as well. So the more work that can go on now, the better I'm sure it's going to be once it's finally started. The
$260 million move was largely paid for thanks to the Launceston City deal. It's hoped the relocation to Inveresk will help revitalise the city. The state government is staying tight-lipped about the delays.
I understand with regards to the UTAS development that there are a range of consultation periods, but that is a matter for UTAS.
We haven't heard anything specific to this, but I'll be seeking some advice from the university as to why there's been a delay in this latest part of the project.
Last month, the $40 million plan for Burnie's new campus was lodged with the council. That project is on track to start in April. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Thousands of tourists are soaking up the atmosphere on Hobart's waterfront, with the Celebrity Solstice cruise ship docking in from New Zealand for an overnight stay. It has a capacity to hold around 3,000 passengers and 1,500 staff members. The state's cruise ship season has poured over $100 million into the local economy in the past 2 years. The state government has resurrected its workplace protection bill after it was ruled unconstitutional by the High Court. Building Minister Sarah Courtenay says the government has revised the bill to protect businesses.
The reference to protesters has been removed from the bill, as has been outlined. The concerns of the High Court has been addressed, and we want to make sure that Tasmanians have a right to earn a living.
Environmentalist Bob Brown led a High Court challenge against the laws he claims target protesters.
The High Court. It said that there are already adequate laws in Tasmania to deal with trespass, to deal with obstructing business, to deal with damage to property. These laws are redundant.
Consultation for the draft bill closes on March 3. Returning now to our lead story, and a group of volunteers has been lending a hand to those fleeing from the bushfires. They've set up an animal evacuation centre in the Huon Valley to care for Tasmanians and their livestock.
Unloading another flock into these makeshift pens as smoke billows in the distance. Dale McPherson-Taylor and his wife fled their Franklin property on Saturday, taking their animals with them to this evacuation centre.
Once we got ourselves organised and our absolute essentials, photos and memorabilia, our animals were the next important thing.
Lender Paddock in Ranelagh, set up earlier this month by volunteers to aid fleeing residents and their livestock amid severe bushfires.
The owners are stressed, the animals are stressed, so we're trying to make this a calm process where they can bring their animals, they're catered for here. We've had some fabulous donations.
Where would we have gone with our animals? Like they've become our life, so Christ, I couldn't see tomorrow without them, and thank God for this place.
Today, seeing a huge intake as the fires ravage the Huon Valley. Locals offering their time to help care and transport the farm animals.
You sit at home and you want to do something, but you don't know what, and this is a perfect opportunity to get involved and put less pressure on those guys who do fight the fires.
Please feel if you need to evacuate, you can come up here. We do stipulate, though, that someone stays with those animals.
Safe and sound during a time of uncertainty. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
With just 4 games left until Big Bash finals, the search is on for recently retired Hurricanes all-rounder Johan Botha's replacement. The Canes are keen to get back on the winners list against the Heat tomorrow, following a rare loss to the Sixers. Following a gruelling stint on the road, which saw them win 3 of 4 matches on hostile turf, players were given a few days to recharge.
Can grind on you a little bit when you're on all those flights and you spend all that time in each other's pockets. So that was a really good chance for us to get away, and I've just seen a few of the boys as they're rolling in today, and they're looking pretty up and pretty fresh at the moment, which is good.
Griffiths says the group didn't read too much into last week's 9-wicket loss to the Sixers, which was just their second for the season.
There's a couple of moments where the ball just dropped out of hands and just dropped outside the ring, and you know this season those things have gone our way. Unfortunately, it didn't for us the other night.
With international all-rounder Johan Botha calling time on his career post-match due to injury concerns, his replacement is set to be announced in the coming days and likely to be another spin bowler.
Now it gives us a chance to rejig things a little bit and make sure that we've got the lineup we want coming into finals.
The side returns to Blunston Arena tomorrow afternoon to take on the Brisbane Heat, who are currently lingering down the bottom of the BBL ladder with 3 wins from 10 matches.
When they're on, they're as good as anyone, but if you can get them early, get early wicket pressure on them, I think is the key. They rely on that top order pretty heavily.
The game begins at 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Tasmania is only hopeful in the men's draw of the Launceston International, has advanced to the second round after his opponent pulled out with an injury. For more, we're joined by Tom Johnson live at Elphin, and Tom, Hobart's Harry Bouchier was locked in a tight clash up until that point.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. Bouchier was up against last year's finalist Brad Mousley, and it was indeed neck and neck at the very start. Bouchier, however, took out the first set 7-6 in a tiebreak, and he went on to win the first game of the second set before Mousley retired hurt. So what was shaping up to be a ripper first game in the Launceston International turned out to end quite abruptly, but nonetheless, Bouchier is through to the second round of the Launceston International, and he will be joined there by another Aussie, Luke Saville, who won here on centre court just a short time ago. Now let's take a look at the rest of the day's action. Unlike last night's Australian Open final, fans were treated to 2 inseparable opponents in the Launceston International's opening match. In an all-Aussie battle, Sydney's Christopher O'Connell took on Brisbane's Blake Ellis. Ellis had been in the Oz Open doubles draw last week, and maybe that was the edge he needed to claim the first set in a tiebreak. Although the big serving O'Connell managed to send home 7 aces in the clash, it was the 20-year-old Ellis who made it count when he broke serve in the second set to claim a 7-6, 6-4 victory. Ellis will now line up against the tournament's top seed Lloyd Harris in the second round. Among the other Aussies on centre court, wildcard Andrew Whittington had a lacklustre start to his clash with Nicola Kuhn. The Spaniard rolled the Aussie 6-1 in the opening set, but Whittington fought back to have the clash at 5-all in the second. Needing to break Whittington's serve to win the match, determination was written all over Kuhn's face.
Well, I was playing really solid. I think that's what you need, especially in days like this with such a strong wind. And yeah, I think that was the key for the first set. He did too many unforced errors.
His next foe is in fact a friend, Italian 10th seed Federico Gaio.
I know him good. We were having dinner yesterday together.
Also on centre court, Melbourne's Andrew Harris came back from a train wreck start to beat Rinky Hijikata. Down 6-1 in the first, Harris won the second in a tiebreak before coming home 6-3 in the decider. Meanwhile, the women's draw begins tomorrow and will feature a top seed playing with a personal motivation. German Laura Sigerman sees Launceston as a step towards the right headspace after a crushing ACL injury condemned the ruthless competitor to the sidelines. But she says there was no temptation to quit altogether.
I felt the opposite. I felt I'm really, feeling the hunger. I want to play again. I want to do all that work to be able to compete on really high level again.
And she's here on a high after upsetting former world #1 Victoria Azarenka in the Australian Open last week.
Thanks so much, Sigerman. You need this kind of matches against great players to maybe make you believe that that's where you belong.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
After an uncertain few months for Hobart's annual Domain Hill Climb, there's been some good news for organisers, with the Hobart City Council unanimously overturning its decision to cancel the event. Council faced heavy backlash from the motoring community following its original vote, with thousands signing a petition to keep the event, which has run for decades going. The next hill climb is scheduled for October 20.
Welcome back.
It's been a fine and partly cloudy day across the state. Hobart reached Tasmania's top temp of 31 degrees. It was 24 in Launceston and 23 in both Burnie and Devonport. Friendly Beaches and Grove reached 30 today, Ouse 29, Maria Island 27, Smithton, Flinders Island and St Helens all 24, and Lyowini, Strawn and Low Head all 22 degrees. Looking to the skies, and convective low clouds sat over the north, west and far south today, with plumes of bushfire smoke visible in the far south. Zooming out, we can see a cold front to the south of the continent with some mid-level cloud ahead. Moving on to tomorrow, the cold front to the west of Tasmania will weaken as another front approaches. On the waters, north to northwesterly winds reaching 30 knots about the south until early evening. Swells at 4 to 5 metres in the west and south. And there is a strong wind warning for southern and western coastal waters between St Helens Point and Sandy Cape, as well as a small craft wind alert for the lakes. A mostly sunny day expected in Hobart tomorrow with a top of 29, Adventure Bay 28, Tarraleah 26, Launceston mostly sunny 28 the top, Devonport 24, Bridport sunny and 26. A partly cloudy day for Burnie, 24, Strawn and Marrawar both with a top of 23, St Helens sunny and 28, Swansea 29, Whitemark 26. UV very high over Hobart but extreme over the rest of the state. Looking ahead to Wednesday, a mostly fine day apart from isolated showers about the northeast from late afternoon with possible storms in the evening. Thursday, showers about the west, south and northeast, gradually easing through the day. And Friday, fine apart from the chance of light showers about the southwest and northeast. To the mainland tomorrow, a partly sunny day for Perth, Adelaide and Melbourne, partly cloudy in Sydney, a possible shower for Brisbane and storms in Darwin. And finally, let's take a look at the current conditions. That's all from me, Jo. Back to you.
That's all from the team for now. Have a lovely evening. We'll see you a little later with updates. Bye-bye.